Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special plenary session of the Hebrew University. The turn of events last month has unfortunately brought about the cancellation of our planned Board of Governors. Yet, it is important that we stay on course, celebrate a century of excellence, and look forward to the future. So thank you all for joining us today. We have three distinguished speakers here this evening. After each one of the presentations, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. To open the session, I welcome Mr. Dan Schlesinger, the Chairman of the Board of Governors. Please, Dan. Please, Dan, go ahead.
I was trying to unmute myself, but I needed some help from Jerusalem. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. As Yishai mentioned, it's very sad that we were not able to proceed with our in-person meeting of the Board of Governors. We were able to do something very important following that meeting. In a follow-up session, we were able to elect our new president, and I'm very confident that that will turn out to be one of the best things that this group could have ever done, was to bring in Tamir Sheafer as our new president. This is the last Board of Governors meeting that Asher Cohen will be attending as the president of the Hebrew University. He will certainly be attending future Board of Governors meetings in his role as president emeritus, but one of my great regrets from having lost the opportunity to meet in person is I was really hoping to give Asher the honor to which he is very entitled for his 8 years of devoted service as president and his many, many more years before that as service in various other roles. Asher, we are all very grateful to you for what you have done to bring the university to its current position. Thank you, and b'hatzlacha in all your future endeavors. I'm also, as I mentioned, delighted that we are welcoming for his first Board of Governors meeting as President Elect, soon to be President of the University, Tamir Sheafer, an amazing scholar, very accomplished administrator for the university, and I look forward to all of us working with Tamir in the coming years to bring the university to even greater heights. I've tried in several of my addresses at Board of Governors meetings to talk about some of the history of the university, and I was hoping to do that in greater detail at our canceled meetings. I do want to do a little bit of that and talk a little bit about the role of the university going forward. And with that, I'd ask if we can put up the slideshow.
Do
Thank you for that memorial tribute. We recognize many names of people we lost in the past year who gave so much to the university. Now I'd like to begin my presentation, if you could move to the next slide, with just recognizing, as mentioned by Yishai, as mentioned earlier in the campaign meeting, we still have hostages in Gaza. It's intolerable that there are still hostages there as we near 2 years. And we must bring them home now. And they will remain at the forefront of our thoughts going forward until we have every last one of them back. Could move then to the next slide. As I mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about the role of the university going forward. Clearly, the major responsibility of the university, the thing that we are most committed to, is the research and teaching role that the university plays, and that is what the Constitution of the university is most significantly directed toward. But there are some hints elsewhere in the university Constitution about other roles that the university plays beyond just the teaching and research. For example, in Chapter 3, the objectives of the university are to promote and cultivate Jewish studies, the study of humanities, arts, science, and all other branches of learning, and to provide research and instruction and any other means for the advancement and dissemination of these subjects. Hard to tell exactly what that means, the advancement and dissemination of these subjects, but if we go to the next slide, it does talk about the powers of the university. And one of those powers, the last one, is to do all or any of the acts and things which a company registered in Israel can do, insofar as the same are incidental or conducive to the attainment of the objects of the university. So I interpret that to mean that the objects of the university include not only research and teaching, but dissemination of that research. Anything that's conducive to the attainment of that object is within the role of the university going forward. And that raises the question, what's our role as the Board of Governors in this endeavor? And again, it's not particularly clear that our role is to disseminate the teachings of the university for the betterment of the world, but it does talk about these 3 items: discussion of the basic guidelines for the functioning of the university, monitoring the activity of the university, and fostering the university's external relations. How we go about that is not exactly clear, but what is clear is that we have an obligation as a Board of Governors to ensure that our leadership is doing its job to elect the best possible president, which we have now done, and to assist and encourage him going forward in bringing the university to the place that it needs to be. If we could go to the slide 6. Sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit. There we are. As we all know, and as I've talked about in prior sessions of this board, there were 24 men who were the original Board of Governors of the Hebrew University back in 1925, 100 years ago. We talk a lot about probably the most prominent one of those, Albert Einstein, and by no means would I diminish Einstein's role, both as one of the major creators of the university, as one of the inspirations of the university's goals and attainment of those goals. But there were other great men, and one of them I want to highlight now is Ahad Ha'am, who was, of course, one of the great thinkers of cultural Zionism, one of the great spokespeople for that. And I'd focus on the highlighted section of what he said back in 1912. A great educational institution in Palestine, which should attract Jews of learning and ability in large numbers to carry on their work on Jewish national lines in a true Jewish spirit, without constraint or undue influence from without, might even now rejuvenate the whole people and breathe new life into Judaism and Jewish literature. So to the extent that that is part of Echad Ha'am's legacy for us, we need to think about rejuvenating our people and breathing new life into Judaism and Jewish literature. Then if we could go to the next slide. One of the other great men, probably less well known, but one of the great initial governors of the Hebrew University was an Englishman named Norman Bentwich. And Bentwich recognized in 1919, so after the cornerstones were laid for the university, before the university actually opened for instruction, Bentwich said those who laid the stones represented the different classes and communities, including the Christian and Muslim. Weitzman made the only speech proclaiming that learning was the Jewish dreadnought and that in the university, the wandering soul of Israel would reach its haven. One of the things that tends to get lost as we remember what happened 100 years ago is that there were Christians and Muslims who were very involved in helping form the university. It was formed as the University of the Jewish People, but the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was one of the people who laid a cornerstone back in 1917 when the university was first preparing to open. Go to the next slide. Bentwich also said, during the summer in England, I discussed with Professor Samuel Alexander, the Jewish philosopher of Manchester University, and with Mahatma Gandhi, who had come to London for the conference on the Constitution of the Indian Dominion, the question of peace between the Palestine communities. Alexander said that the circumstances had made the Jews stand for social justice and international understanding. They must not fall below their moral tradition when restoring their national home. Gandhi stressed the need for the personal organization of peace among the religious and spiritual bodies. Bentwich went on to become the chair of international relations at the university and was very prominent in trying to raise the profile of the Hebrew University internationally, something that is very much a topic of great interest today. And if we could go to the next slide, one of the very recognized of the 24 initial members of the Board of Governors, the chair of the Board of Governors, the first chair was Chaim Weitzman. And Weitzman noted several years after the university was founded, it seems at first sight paradoxical that in a land with so sparse a population, in a land where everything still remains to be done, in a land crying out for such simple things as plows, roads, and harbors, we should be creating a center of spiritual and intellectual development. But it is no paradox for those who know the soul of the Jew. It is true that great social and political problems still face us and will demand their solution. We Jews know that when the mind is given fullest play, when we have a center for the development of Jewish consciousness, then coincidentally we shall attain the fulfillment of our material needs. So in some sense, the more things change, the more they remain the same. The problems plaguing the world in the 1940s, as I've noted in our discussion last year, are not very different from the problems plaguing the world today. And it's very clear to me that the Hebrew University has a significant role to play in moving forward along those lines. If we look at the next slide, which I think is my last slide, this is a comment that was distributed several months ago from the university administration, including our current president and our president elect, declaring their commitment. We will also continue to deal with the national and international tensions and ensure a secure, shared life, alongside providing freedom of expression in accordance with the university's values. We must all be committed to values of moderation, inclusion, and acceptance of others. We must all be committed to preserving academic freedom and rejecting any form of hate speech, or intimidation so that we can continue to fulfill our chief commitment to excellent teaching and groundbreaking research. We aspire to continue to serve as a model and example for the entire country. This was a statement that, as I mentioned, was sent out by both our president and our rector, our president-elect. And it declares the commitment that I think reflects the views of our founders of what the role of the university is beyond just a normal university's teaching and research roles. We heard in the search process and in the election process for Professor Sheafer that he is very committed to the university fulfilling that role. We may hear from him some comments along those lines now, and we certainly will be hearing from him a lot about that as he moves forward in his presidency. So again, I thank you all for your very important roles in helping the university be able to achieve the great things that it has, to your commitment going forward for even more. And I look forward to hearing from both President Asher Cohen and President-elect Tamir Sheafer about their views on these very important subjects. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for these words, and thank you for so many good years of service, and you're still with us, of course. If there are any questions from the audience on the Zoom, if you want to raise your hand, if you have questions to Dan. Okay, I think we will move forward and questions may come later. So thank you once again, Dan. We will now watch a short film about Professor Asher Cohen, our current president, highlighting Asher's leadership, vision, and the lasting impact he has had on the university during his presidency. Please.
Over the years, every year I write a president's report. In these reports, I usually both tell what are my dreams and what we did. So I want to see what happened over the years and what actually came to being and what we still need to do. It is my deepest honor and pleasure to present this year's report as we mark 100 years since the laying of our university's cornerstones. It's 2018, right? We have made the internationalization of the university a central priority on every institutional level. This is something that we actually did. We managed to do it over the years. Our partnership with industry goes from strength to strength with an upcoming tender for our high-tech park adjacent to the Edmond Safra campus. This is actually really nice. When this was written, the place where we wanted to establish the innovation park that we're talking here about was just bare land. Now you will see a huge structure that is already built. It's actually just about fully occupied. Despite the challenges, the coronavirus, do you remember that? Coronavirus? Despite the challenges the coronavirus has posed to our daily lives, I am encouraged by our researchers working hard to find a cure, by our students persevering through a challenging semester. Actually, I'm really proud of the way we handled the situation, such a global crisis. And yet, during that period of time, we graduated the same percentage of students as in all previous years. Off we go to 2023. Years go by, huh? Our students are the backbone of our institution. One of our central goals is to recruit more students from underrepresented groups. I'm quite proud of our diversity. We are bringing now students from what we call first-generation families, meaning students that are the first from their families to have an undergraduate degree. We are an elite university that is trying to be at the front end of science and teaching, but we don't want to leave anyone behind. We want to make sure that we are fully represented. The school year was postponed multiple times due to the war, and the semester finally began on December 31st. The first day of classes was difficult on various fronts. Many students were still enlisted. We still, even today, have some students that are enlisted, or had just returned from serving reserve duty. And Carmel Gat, a Hebrew University student, was still captive. This is really a tragic story. Carmel Gat was murdered in captivity, and she's no longer with us. It's still difficult for me. With your help, we successfully ran the We Are One campaign. Your support is directly helping those affected by the war and its aftermath. Speaking of the future, I'm still optimistic. I think I know we will prevail. I'm sure we will prevail. And of course, we cannot do that without your help. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for being part of our family. What is really, I think, a thought that I have with me is how honored and privileged I am to be the president of such a great institution. It is very important for me to remind everyone that it's not the president that does the work. It's a team that includes the many people at both the academic and the administrative faculty that helped with me together. It's really a privilege. Well, as it turned out, this year, the title of my report is Reflections of an Optimist. It's a genuine title. Challenging times, but it's still Reflections of an Optimist.
After this wonderful video, it is now my pleasure to invite President Professor Asher Cohen to present the 2025 President's Report. Please, Asher.
Hello, everyone. I wish this plenary session would have been the same, the way it was planned. In your physical presence, to tell you about what we tried to do over the last 8 years, and then to hear from the incoming president, the President-elect, about the future. Didn't work out, so here we are with the best second alternative. And what I'm going to do now is basically to more or less tell you what I planned to do in the original Board of Governors. And I'll be happy to answer any questions after that. But first of all, please keep in mind, this is a work of a team. I was privileged to work with many great, highly able people that you see here in front of you. One of them is the Cohen rector and the President-elect, and many others that you see, you know all of them. Some already finished their positions, some still continuing. They all were instrumental in getting us to where we are right now. So, the university has actually several cornerstones, anchors, on which it relies. We all know about academic excellence. But in addition to academic excellence, the university also must develop internationalization, must have connections with the industry, and must be involved with the community. These are 4 goals that really a front-end university such as the Hebrew University must develop together. And I'm going to briefly tell you about each and every one of those anchors or cornerstones and what we try to do over the years. To develop research, front-end, groundbreaking research at the university, our system is to develop research centers. What centers do is to focus on specific topics, sometimes quite large topics, but still specific topics, and bring to the center researchers from many different disciplines, if needed, in order to work together. Groundbreaking research often is achieved by collecting researchers from many different perspectives. And what you see here in front of you is many of the centers that exist at the Hebrew University for a while now. We continued this trend over the last 8 years or so, and here are 3 notable examples of that. We have a new center for Sheldon Lavin Center for Food and Sustainable System. We have in the humanities a center for digital humanities. Digital humanities ask the same age-old questions as before and tries to answer them, but it provides new methods in order to try to answer those questions. And then we have the Center of Computational Medicine, which is quite unique, maybe now less so, but when we started it, we were one of the first in the world to do it. And its aim, and I'm sure it will happen, is to provide solutions to some of the most debilitating diseases there are. And as I said, all of those centers, what they do, they bring in people from different perspectives, and I'm going to go back to one of those centers later on in my speech. One more way, a highly important way to develop research is to bring in the best talent. When we started our terms 8 years ago, we needed some more people. And what you see here in front of you is the number of faculty members that we have through the years, and you can see a steady increase in the number of faculty members over the years. And we did it by providing conditions that are highly competitive. I think lots of people want to come and become faculty members at the Hebrew University, but they will not come if they are not given proper conditions to develop their abilities as researchers. And we were able to do that, and as a result of that, we grew to the size that you see now in front of you. It was a long process, but very important process that will bear fruits in the near future and beyond. Moving to teaching, we continue to pursue excellent teaching in all kinds of ways. So we developed cutting-edge teaching methods. Some of it was forced by the COVID, by the coronavirus, but some of it was planned anyway in advance. And we developed a variety of methods and approaches in order to improve our teaching. I think, that's my personal opinion as an objective observer, that we are actually doing a pretty good job at that. And you see here the details of what we did in this respect for teaching during the years. Moving to internationalization, internationalization is critical for all leading universities in the world. When we do research, we collaborate with other universities, and when we do that, we combine excellent forces from different places, each bring its own unique abilities, and together we create something that we cannot create on our own. Here is a list of 5 universities that we developed recently or almost recently new types of international collaborations with them. Here are several examples that are important because they happened due in part to our ability to travel to those places and reach an agreement with those universities. So, for example, the top rightmost symbol is of Caltech, a great university in the California, in the Los Angeles region. A year ago, we actually found a way to fund collaborative research with them. It's about $1 million a year for 5 years, which will bring a lot of new insights into our research and their research. Similarly, on the leftmost side, this is already some years now, we have very, very fruitful collaboration with the Illinois University in the Chicago area. And let me mention also Harvard. We hear about Harvard. There are different types of associations with it. This is the time to say that at least Harvard management, the current Harvard management, is very enthusiastic about collaborating with us. And we actually now, as we speak, develop a new type of collaboration with them on brain research. And this is, again, due to a recent visit that Oron Shagrir, our Vice President for Internationalization, and I did just a few months ago. And the same is for the other universities that you see in there. In terms of internationalization, we do it in a global way. We have actually strategic partnerships across the globe, and you see here several examples of those partners that we have over the globe, and we develop collaborations with all of them. I should say, and you can imagine, that these collaborations are more effortful now. We are facing objections to Israel, and sometimes objections to the Israeli academia, sometimes anti-Semitism, sometimes just Israeli hate, and this creates difficulties in many places in the world. Despite all of this, our international collaboration so far is actually quite successful, and all of those places that you see here continue to collaborate gladly with us. There is, by the way, a reason for that, and it's important to bear it in mind. There is a reason why they all want to do these collaborations, and that's because we bring a very valuable thing to the table. We bring academic excellence. They all appreciate it and want to collaborate with us because of that. And you saw it, I think, in one of the pictures in the video before. We also developed our academia-industry collaboration. You missed it, unfortunately, because of the cancellation of the Board of Governors. But in the Safra campus in Givat Ram, we are now in the process of building a huge innovation park called Gav Yam, the Hebrew University Innovation Park. The first two buildings were just opened. And here is a good example of why it's so important. These are two buildings that were fully developed now in the middle of a war, in the middle of some sort of recession in the high-tech world, and those two buildings are fully occupied. Precisely 96% of it is occupied right now. It shows you the attraction of establishing something that is industrial, but is high-tech and close to the university so that we can develop collaborations with them. It shows you how attractive it is. In about 2 or 3 years, it will be fully finished. At that time, by the way, there will be so many companies that they will have 10,000 highly paid positions, industrial positions, right at the campus. It provides a great context for collaborating with the industry. And no least important, the Hebrew University, from its inception, was highly involved with the community. It's no accident that we were established 23 years before the establishment of Israel, because our legacy, part of our legacy, is to be involved with the country. And to be involved with the country is to be involved with the community as well. And we do a lot of things in that respect as well. We developed a lot of projects over the years for this. So I think right now I cannot see my presentation very well, but probably what is mentioned there is the new Addiction and Mental Health Center that we just now opened, and it's going to provide services for the community. And the Computational Medicine Center. I mentioned the Computational Medicine Center with respect to research before. But in addition to research, that center also collaborates with physicians so that they will provide top-of-the-line service, medical service, to the community. It combines all of them within this particular center, and that shows, again, from a different angle, our commitment to the community. I'm going to leave primarily the future to the President-elect to tell you about, but I will mention two big projects that are now in development and that you should know about them. One is, we call it Medicine 360. It's not 360 degrees. There are 360 degrees, but this is not about that. It's really about something else. Right now, we admit 200 students, approximately 200 medical students, new medical students, each year. Israel is in a huge crisis of needing to provide new medical people to the community, new physicians. We don't have enough of them. We don't have enough new physicians for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to get into them now. Right now, we admit 200 students, and it's already challenging for us to admit 200 students because keep in mind that when you teach medical students, you also have to provide them with clinical teaching, and you are limited by the clinical services that you have because you have to provide them with a clinical training. But we are now developing new cutting-edge methods in order to be able, with a lot of effort, but we will be able to do that in order to be able to admit in about 3, 4, 5 years from now, 360 students each year, so that we will be able to release back to the community 360 physicians every year. It's an important goal for the country, it's an important goal for us, and we will do it in the best way possible. The second project, I don't need to tell you much about it. It's AI. It's all over us. It shows itself in every facet of our activity, research, teaching, administration, you name it. Everything that you can think of, there is AI in there. It's something that comes whether you like it or you don't like it. It can be used for really good purposes. It's also dangerous, so you have to do it in the right way. And we are going to develop, we already started, and I'm sure Tamir will be completely on it in order to make it part and parcel of the Hebrew University in a good way. Not in a bad way, in a good way. And, you know, I cannot really finish without the money. So here's the money. As you know, you heard about it. We were able, with the great work of our external relations unit, and of course, with your help, to secure over $1 billion in the last 7 years for the university. And as I say to Tamir, it's his job to do a lot better in the next few years in order to really keep up with what we need to do, but kudos to what we did so far, which is really you guys that are looking at me. It's what you did for us, and we truly, truly appreciate that. Now, I cannot finish this if I look at the last 8 years without looking at what actually happened in the last 4 years. Each time we faced a crisis that we thought was the worst until we found the next crisis. So we had the COVID that challenged globally humanity. I think we actually were able to deal with it quite successfully, and it was mentioned before. For example, we didn't lose students. We were able to move from digital teaching, online teaching, to live teaching and back without any problems. We developed really impressive abilities when it comes to that. We had the legal revolution here in Israel that we had to stand to it. I'll say something about it in a minute. And then we had the war, and with all of our reservists spending time in the army, in the war, and we totally dedicated ourselves to make sure that they will be able, that they will get the opportunity to study at the Hebrew University when they come back. Many of them came back. Many of them go there and coming back. And we developed many programs in order to be able to help them. With your help, the We Are One campaign tremendously helped us in doing all of this. And again, the numbers show a very good success. For example, the reservists, the dropout among reservists is less than the dropout in the general population of our students. Just as an example, and maybe Tamir will say something about it, so I'm not going to mention it anymore. And I guess I don't need to tell you about the international challenges that we are facing following October 7. The encampments, the anti-Semitism, the hostility towards Israel, the attempts to boycott us, to move away from us for many, many ill-conceived reasons. We deal with that. We try to deal with it as much as possible. It is a great challenge, but we are working very hard in order to minimize its damage. We hope very much that when the hostility here in our region will subside, and it's going to happen at some point soon, we will be able to rebuild everything that we lost during this time. And those anti-Semites can go back to the holes from which they showed up this time around. And finally, we cannot really not talk about the internal challenges that we are facing in Israel. The Hebrew University is an Israeli community. This community has people from all corners of society and from many different political views. That's why we don't get into politics in general. But we do have values, which we don't call them politics, but values. Perhaps the clearest example of that is the hostages in Gaza. We still have 50 of them, which is unbelievable and should not have happened. Even now, we have to bring each and every one of them back. It's a duty. It's a duty that we must do, and we call our leaders to do it immediately as the one priority right now that is needed to be achieved. We're also facing dangers to our democracy, but it's really about maintaining a normal life in Israel. We hear sometimes voices that suggest that our executives, our elected executives, will not follow court orders. I'll be very clear. A country cannot exist normally in the way we think about a country without the understanding that you have to obey law and order and verdicts by the justice system. If you don't do that, chaos comes in. The Hebrew University will stand firm against any attempts of any kind to not obey verdicts of the justice system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asher. If we have any questions from the audience, once again, please raise your hand on your Zoom panel, and Asher will be happy to take questions. Okay, I think we will continue. So thank you very much, Asher. And it is now my pleasure to invite our rector and President-elect Professor Tamir Sheafer. Please, Tamir.
Thank you, Ishai. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again after so many of you came here already several weeks ago. I would like to start by the point that Asher ended his talk about the 50 hostages that are still held captive in Gaza, and the fact that we must bring them home back immediately. I want to mention that more than a year ago, the Senate of the Hebrew University has voted for this exactly, for a call for the government to end the war and bring back all hostages. By then we had many more. By then Carmel Gat, our student, was still alive. So it's now the time to do that. Let me start by a rector report, some of the things you heard already from Asher, but I will go on them briefly. In the last 2 years at least, and particularly since the beginning of the war, we're facing what can be described as a perfect storm. I think we live now in the most challenging period in the history of the Hebrew University. Through the war, more than 7,000 of our students were enlisted to the army. Many of them served for extended periods, many of over 200, 250 days during the academic year, during the previous academic year, and during this academic year. As we speak today, almost 1,000 of our students are enlisted to the army. Now think about those young people after missing most of the semester, fighting the war, and then coming back and trying to learn, trying to be a successful student. How can you help them realize their goals? And this was one of our main tasks, and I'll explain how we did it. We faced also, because of the war, several rounds of shrinking budgets. We had to deal with campus tension. There's a lot of political tension in Israel because of the war. And since the Hebrew University is a microcosmos of Israel, we faced those tensions as well. We had to deal, and we're still dealing with the threat of brain drain. Because of the political revolution and then the war, we have something between 10 and 20 faculty members that decide to leave Israel. I'm saying between 10 to 20 because we don't have the final numbers. We know that 10 already left, and about another 10 are planning to leave, but right now they took an absence of leave, so they might change their mind. We also faced threats on our academic freedom, threats that came from the government and from the Knesset. These threats continue, and we fought them until now, and we will continue to fight them in the future. And we saw a mounting campaign of BDS in the goal to isolate and to boycott Israeli academia in general and the Hebrew University in particular. As we speak now, there are about 35 universities that boycott us to certain degrees, most of them from Europe. The centerpiece of this trend now is in the Netherlands. I think that all but one of the university in the Netherlands boycott us to a certain extent. We try, we talk, we have discussions with them, but currently the situation there is not good. In countries like Spain, Belgium, and others, the situation is as bad. There are pressures on the EU to cut ties with Israeli academia. The EU is the greatest funder of academic funders probably in the world. For us, it's by far the most important academic funder. And if ties will be cut with us, this will be a disaster from an academic point of view. Last week, this attempt was failed, but we know that there are countries in Europe that still push hard for that. But there are other forms of indirect boycott. For instance, last week, we got the results of the ERC for starters, for young scholars. The ERC is the most prestigious individual grant from the EU. And every year in Israel, in the last 5 years, about 29 to 30 young scholars received this ERC starting grant. Last week, we got the results for the current year, and for in all Israel, only 9 young scholars got it. So it is a drop from 29 to 9. What did we do to address these storms elements, these challenges? I think the first thing that we did is to keep our eyes on the ball, keep our eyes on the main goal of the Hebrew University, which was always and always be research excellence. One means to do that was to create an incentive-based operational model that provide faculties and schools with better academic output, both in research and teaching, a greater budget. And we see that how that affects the behavior of our scholars. But more than that, I think that our scholars and our whole community demonstrated an amazing resilience, and they continued to publish their research in the best academic output, which is really fascinating. And because of that, regardless of the war, we've managed to secure, to still be among the top 100 universities in the world, and even to slightly improve our ranking, which is really an amazing achievement. We provided a lot of support for the reservists. As Asher said before, through your help with the We Are One campaign, we've managed to provide a full package of support to these reservists, academic support, emotional support, and economic support. And as Asher said, at the end of last year, those reservists, their dropout rate was lower than average, and actually their grades were higher than average. We had the same challenge this year. We don't have the final data for this year, but the challenges are the same, and the challenges will continue, unfortunately, for many years ahead. So this is something that we will have to deal with, and we will have to have any support that we can have. We fought, as I said, against any attempt to limit our academic freedom, and this will continue to be a great goal of us. We're not going to give up on this because this is really essential. And we created a team to fight BDS. This team works 24/7 under the great leadership of a young scholar, Professor Neta Barak Cohen, from the law faculty. She's doing an amazing job. And if you see, one example is that the House of Florida passed a bill strengthening anti-Israeli boycott law. And Professor Neta Barak Cohen was one of the people who worked with members of the House of Florida on developing this law, but the challenge is still great. So this was my report as rector. Let me say to you a few words as the incoming president. And first of all, thank you again for electing me for this position. It's far more than a dream come true. I would like to highlight in my talk 3 things: our values, our vision, and a few words about myself. Our values are already written 100 years ago. In that document, the mission of our university, it was written, published by Albert Einstein exactly 100 years ago, in March, actually, 1925. Our university is the Hebrew University, and over there, many of the values that are important for us today are mentioned there, and as we heard from Dan, also other founders like Echad Ha'am, and also like the poet Chaim Nachman Bialik, mentioned the same things. And our first value is excellence in research and teaching. I said this was and always will be our first and foremost value. And a second central value is protecting academic freedom, because without academic freedom, you cannot have good academia. You cannot have a breakthrough science without freedom of thought, and we will do anything we can under the law to protect our academic freedom from political interference, as well as to fight academic boycotts and to foster academic collaboration, because this is really essential. We will continue to work to push forward collaborative culture, because our resilience is based on a collaboration between students, academic staff, and the administration staff. We're doing that now, and we will continue to do that in the future. We will continue to emphasize inclusion. As Asher talked already about that. For me, helping first-generation students to realize their potential is one of the main goals, both as rector and as president. I think we are very successful in that. The resources that we put into this goal are by far the largest in Israel, but we will have to do better even in that. And we will have to improve our community focus. This is our social responsibility, and there are things to improve there, as I'll say in a minute. I see the Hebrew University as Israel's national treasure. It's one of the first and most important Zionist projects. It's a leading international research university, and inside it's a leading force for national building. But how do you keep our university as a national treasure facing all these challenges that Asher and me just talked about. And I think that due to all the challenges and limitations that we have to focus on several growth engines, that all of them have the following principles. They must improve our science, improve graduation rates, expand the student body, increase our income, brand our contribution to society, and in general, they must address urgent national needs. So I'll start with several examples of academic growth engines. Asher already mentioned some of them. Multiplying our med school almost by 2 is the first of them. It's an amazing project. It's something that Israel needs most, because Israel really now, the first thing that the country needs is more medical doctors. And as the best medical school in Israel, this is our social responsibility. We will need a lot of philanthropic support for that. Asher talked about developing simulation rooms with robotics. This is exciting, but it requires resources, but I'm confident that we will be able to secure the needed resources. We also need to launch a College of Engineering, the most attractive and new forms of engineering, because first, this is what the country needs, and secondly, because we just opened the high-tech park. Those high-tech companies that will move to that park, they moved there because they want to have access to our students, and mainly they want engineering students, and we don't have many of them right now. So this is something that we will have to develop, and we'll have to develop rather quickly. We will address trauma, because trauma became something really important since October 7th, 23. There are many scholars at the Hebrew University that deal with various aspects of trauma, of research, teaching, and treatment. And this is something that we will develop more in the future. We will have to put a lot of emphasis and resources on recruiting and retaining faculty. And that's something that Asher already mentioned. In order to continue to be a leading research university, we have to have the greatest minds. This is all about that. And in order to bring them and to keep them here, we must have a lot of resources. And that is something that we will have to focus particularly in this era, in this time, a challenging time, in which there's, unfortunately, many scholars that look at other places because of what is going in this country. And we will have to embrace the AI revolution. This is a great challenge, great threats, but as well as great opportunities, and we will look at it from a positive point of view. There are other growth engines that are less academic. One of them that I would like to emphasize is creating a new policy impact center. At the Hebrew University, we have about 70 research centers. You didn't hear about many of them, and they never collaborate. So their impact, many times, goes unnoticed. And when we conduct surveys asking the public about the contribution of universities in general, and the Hebrew University in particular, to the country, we don't get the right credit, the credit that we deserve. And it is our social responsibility to make it clear how important we are to this country. So my goal is to appoint a new vice president for policy impact. And the goal of that vice president will be to collaborate between all of the work of all these research centers to focus on solving national problems and to base our impact on evidence, because this is our main force. This is the thing that makes us unique, that what we do is based on evidence, on research. And by doing that, I believe that our impact on society would be greater and more recognizable. And this is important, not only because this is our social responsibility, but also because the more relevant we will be seen by the public, the more we will be able to protect our academic freedom. We will also increase our support for post-graduation placement, and we're going to create an academia-industry relations unit under the Vice President of Research and Development. These are some of my plans. Let me tell you a few words about myself, because I think the background of any person is important. I was born in Kibbutz Nir David, which is near the city of Beit Shan in the northern eastern part of Israel, which is the first Choma Migdal kibbutz. It's the first tower and stockade settlement. It was established in Hanukkah, December 1936. And actually, there are films for that day. Here you see the tower. And then in a minute, you'll see the building, the wall. And look in a minute about a young woman who's holding a pole. This young woman that you see here holding the pole is my grandmother, Fanka. And over here, she's 1 month pregnant with my mother, Ora. Actually, my mom was really excited about coming to the university. She has never been here. She wanted to be during the board, the meeting, the Board of Governors. Unfortunately, it was canceled. I will bring her here. She's now 88, still a young woman. My father was born in Hungary, survived the war, and in 1949, when he was 14, he came to his parents and told them that the day after, that tomorrow he's gonna flee from Hungary. It was the era of the Iron Curtain. Jews could not leave Hungary. So he took 2 of his friends, also 14 years, and the 3 kids ran away from Yugoslavia, through Yugoslavia to Italy, and from Italy by boat to Israel, where he was taken to the kibbutz and met my mom. His parents came only to the kibbutz only in 1956, when Jews had a kind of opening to leave Hungary. This is the kibbutz. My mom still lives there. This is myself and my kids in the kindergarten, and I think my upbringing in the kibbutz gave me a lot of the values that I hold today, and a lot of probably the resilience that I have. You have to have resilience to survive in this community, but it's a great memory for me, and I still visit there quite a lot. This is the main force behind me. Many of you met Alona. She is the CEO of a national development project in Netivot, which is a city in the periphery near Gaza Strip in the south. It's a huge project in which Alona is responsible for almost doubling the size of the city. And I'm really proud of what Alona is doing. These are our three startups. From left is Ido, Shaked, and our youngest, Nitzan. Nitzan is 18, and exactly a week from now, she's going to the army to be a paramedic. At the end, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a whole community over the world to make such a great university as the Hebrew University. And I would like to thank, to start with Asher, who's been a great mentor. He still has 2 months to work, and probably after that I'll use him a lot, more than he thinks. But thank you, Asher. I would like to thank the Hebrew University management and the deans. I would like to thank Dan Schlesinger and the search committee and the executive board and all of you, the board of governors, for all your help, for all you did for the university in the past, but more than that, for everything that you will help me and the university in the future. I would like to thank Yuval Bronstein and the board of managers, the whole Hebrew University community, and of course, my family. And last but not least, regardless of everything, regardless of the dark hour that we live in today, I'm still optimistic about the future of our university. And I'm optimistic because when I'm looking inside our community and I see that regardless of everything, we continue to excel, to work together and excel, I think that we can be a model for the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tamir, for this inspiring speech. I don't see any hands right now going up in the Zoom. So we will be moving on to a short film. Please.
Of course I'm writing my centennial speech.
Are you using AI?
No, I'm not using AI.
You should.
Okay, bye. For the last 8 years, I've been giving this speech. Nothing has changed, and everything has changed. I don't like it.
Excuse me, but why not? It's an excellent opening line.
8 years is nothing from a relative point of view.
Don't worry. We are only a stress-induced hallucination.
Stress? He's cool as a cucumber. He just wants to hear our opinion.
Do I?
Come on, let's start writing. Time is an illusion, but deadlines unfortunately are not.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about some of the university's projects. Maybe the Einstein House?
My intellectual property finally has a home. Just promise me, no Einstein wigs in the gift shop.
He's always sensitive about his hair.
At least I have hair.
Legacy is important, but what about innovation?
I can mention the Gaviam Hebrew campus and Asper Huji Innovate, helping Jerusalem thrive.
Ah yes, the startup nation. Put that in your speech.
No, talk about the human spirit, the students. Tell them about how the student body reflects Israeli society.
Herzl would have been proud.
Well, good for Herzl. But what about the research? The science?
That's really at the heart of what we do, isn't it? It's such an honor to hold the position of president and help lead the university into the future. Thank you for your vision.
No, Asher, thank you.
You have helped make our vision a reality.
It's not about me, it's about the university. We embrace challenges. We are always looking into the future. Just look at all the new centers that we are creating. Computational medicine,
Green energy,
Digital humanities.
Urban innovation.
ancient DNA.
and sustainable food systems.
very impressive.
It sounds expensive.
Don't worry, they raised $1 billion in 7 years.
Only two things are infinite, the universe and the budget. And I'm not sure about the first.
Good one, Albert.
Classic Einstein.
You know what, guys? I think I got it.
Wait, you have to speak about your childhood.
What is this obsession with the childhood, Sigmund?
He's not coming back, is he?
Nope.
Classic avoidance. Textbook.
Wow, what will they have in the video 100 years from now? We'll see. So thank you very much, Tamir, for your inspiring speech. Thank you, Asher, and your 3 friends over there, no AI. And I would want to move this on to our chairman, to Dan, for the closing remarks. Please, Dan.
Well, thank you all. Thanks, Asher. Thanks, Tamir. Thanks, Yishai. This was a tremendous event, and I appreciate all the work that went into it. And yet, as we all know, it pales by comparison with what had been planned. Great regrets to everyone that was involved in planning that we didn't manage to achieve your dream of the 100th anniversary celebration. And great regrets to the people that we had planned to honor in person. We are very committed to finding an appropriate way to do that. And looking back 100 years to what our founders were going through then, the sacrifices they made on behalf of the university, on behalf of the not yet born state of Israel, I'm very confident that with the commitment, the spirit of our current Board of Governors, we will meet in person. I hope that will be a year from now, a little less than a year from now. And in the meantime, as our President-elect noted, the university is fully indebted to all of you for your contributions, and yet very dependent on your continued contributions into the future. So thanks for everything you do. Thanks for your commitment going forward. And with that, we're adjourned.